So the best training aid for me was a piece of string.
Welcome to the cGolfcDriven show, where we are driven to get better at golf and learn more about improvement too. So if you're new to the show, I'm trying to get better at golf and I'm trying to learn as much as I can from whoever I can. That includes professionals. That also includes regular golfers who've already improved. And that brings us to today's interview. I'm talking to Chris from Maryland. Thank you, Chris, for joining me. It's great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks, Colin.
All right. So, Chris, it's always fascinates me like how people got into golf, and just tell me like how you got started and what kind of prompted you to try to get better.
I picked up golf just on a vacation with family friends. Just went out and played one time and played baseball growing up and kind of took to it right away and was pretty good at 13, 14 years old. Yeah, just kind of took to it, liked it, enjoyed it, played high school golf and went on to play college golf and I've just been playing and in love with it ever since.
Awesome. So, you played college golf. Have you always, have you kind of stayed playing this whole time, or did you take any long breaks? Have you had to like kind of work back to get your game in shape, sort of thing, or have you kind of always kept it top notch?
No, I got burnt out. I worked as an assistant pro at a golf course in Jersey. Did that for a year and quit and came down to Maryland and barely played any golf, maybe 5 to 10 rounds a year for like 15 years, to
Okay.
be honest with you. I just started trying to practice and get better maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay. So like when you picked it back up, like what were you shooting? Do you remember like what your handicap probably was when you started
Yeah,
trying?
my handicap was probably 12,
Okay.
13. Um,
And where
and
you
I
at?
was shooting mid to high 80s.
Okay.
Now I'm a 4.
Awesome. All right. So you've definitely made some strides. It's
Hmm.
great to see that. So like you've mentioned that you've started practicing more, like, and I'm guessing you're playing more than what you used to. So how often do you play? Is it like you play twice a week, once a week?
No, I wish.
Yeah.
I play. I, last year I played 24 times, and that
Okay.
was the most I played since I picked it back up.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I've
Um,
had 2 kids since I started picking it back up, so that they kind of took away from my really dedicating a lot of time and working hard.
no, and they're definitely more important than this, and it's
Yeah,
we just have to find more effective and efficient ways to get better, and what
that's
this
what I was just gonna say.
that's what this whole podcast is about,
Yep,
is figuring that stuff out, and so this way we don't have to waste time trying it all. If someone else has the answer, we can just, oh, thanks for letting me know.
yeah,
So like, do you get to practice then a decent amount? Do you do a lot of stuff at home for practice? What's your practice routine like?
yeah. I practice more than I play. That's one of the reasons why I've got like 20 to 24 rounds a year because it's so much easier to get out and take 2 hours to go to the course and practice than it is to go and play 18 holes and come back 5 hours later. Um, so yeah, I practice. I try to practice uh, once to twice a week
Okay.
and try to play once every 2 weeks. So I'd say 2 to 3 times a month would be average for me playing right now.
Okay. So then that doesn't sound too unreasonable, right? That's pretty, I
No.
think a lot of people could handle that. It's not like you're
Hmm.
saying, oh, I practice every day for an hour and I play, twice a week.
No.
So yeah, that's definitely reasonable. Um, when you're practicing, what are you working on? Do you go in like with a plan? This is what I'm going to work on, or is it like just? I doubt it's willy nilly like what you feel like doing. I'm sure it's probably like based on your previous rounds what you're working on.
Yeah, it used to be more willy-nilly when I had more time to practice. Um, and that's probably why I didn't improve that quickly.
Okay.
Um, but now it's not necessarily structured where I have, Tuesday I'm going to work on this and Thursday I'm going to work on that and next week I'm going to do this. It's just more so tracking what skills are kind of falling behind
Okay.
and then working on getting them back. So, I might go and work on um, ground contact and putting one day and then pitching and driving the next day. Um, but it just kind of alternates based off of whether or not the last time I practiced, I did a good enough job, or if I played around, what cost me most strokes.
Do you do a lot of like block practice? Is it more random? Do you do like games when you're practicing? It's
Now it's kind of a little bit of everything.
yeah.
It used to be strictly block practice, and
Okay.
that's I think why I really wasn't improving, even though I was before my daughter was born, I was at the course 3 to 4 times a week for 2 to 3 hours, and I was getting better, but not at the clip where I did recently, where I'm practicing less. Um, but yeah, it's a mixture of everything. It's a mixture of block practice to try to acquire the skills and random practice to be more like on the golf course and um, differential practice, doing things I wouldn't necessarily
Hmm.
want to do. Um, just kind of mixing it up, which also makes it more fun too,
Yeah.
and go a little bit quicker. And then kind of work on shots that, I might not need in a round, but if I do ever need it, at least I know how to hit it.
That's something like I definitely enjoy because it's like when it's like I might have to use this someday. It's there versus you get to a shot you've never hit in a round and you're like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. But if you know you've practiced it, it makes a big difference.
Plus, it's more fun too. I mean, I just played Division 3 college golf. I wasn't even really on the starting team, kind of like fifth, sixth man. Um, but our coach used to get mad at us for goofing off. But now that goofing off is acquiring skills that I might actually need on the golf course. It's kind of
Yeah.
funny how it's evolved.
Oh yeah. Probably for a lot of people too. I assume. I think.
Yeah,
Do you do any practice at home, or is it like mostly I go to the range, or or do you have like a net at home that you work on, or putting mat, or stuff like that that you use at home?
I do a little. I just bought a mat for my garage, and I have a little net that I put up. I'm not able to hit more than like a 9 iron into it,
Okay.
but I'll do that just to block practice, strike quality.
What are some of the skills you worked on? You mentioned strike quality. You mentioned ground contact. Any other like major skills that you work on?
Uh, yeah, I mean, it started with club face control. That was one thing that I really never had growing up and mostly struggled with. And last year I tried to get that under control. Um, and now it's working on just strike quality, making sure I hit the ball first before the ground and try to move the impact closer to the sweet spot instead of off the toe.
Have you gotten lessons? I'm assuming it sounds like you pretty much do a lot of like self-diagnosis, but do you get
Yeah, I may have gotten 5 lessons in my life, which is really weird considering when I first graduated college, I used to give lessons. And I know how good lessons can be, but I've just never taken them. Most of it is self-regulating, just figuring out um, what what my faults are and kind of knowing how to correct it, and also just not caring what my swing looks like.
yeah.
I don't need the Adam Scott swing as much as I'd love to have it. Um, I don't need that. I'm perfectly fine having a Jim Furyk swing if it means I hit the ball in the center of the club face every time.
What are you using to like give yourself feedback then? Are you using just like ground contact where you're striking it on the face, shot shape? Are you using anything else?
Yeah. So I don't know if you know Adam Young.
Yeah.
Okay. So um, I bought his book last year, and that's one of the big catalysts for me working on my game and structuring it and figuring out what skills I need to acquire.
You
And and he,
practice manual?
sorry,
Practice manual, or does he have a
yeah,
different book?
practice manual. Yep,
Okay.
yep, Adam Young practice manual. Um, so I bought that, and that he has a free spreadsheet, basically shot tracker that you hit a shot and you write down whether it was fat or thin, toe or heel, straight. And I kind of altered it a little bit to be, did it start on line and did it end on line? To so that I can differentiate for me, like I said, club face control was a skill that I didn't really have uh, really at all. Um, so now I try to work on, okay, did the ball go to where I start at what I intended it to, and then fade or draw, or did it start way right and then just keep going further right?
Are you using that just in practice, or are you using that in rounds?
Both actually. And I just used it for the first time yesterday in a round, and I like it because tells me how well I'm actually acquiring ththose skills I'm trying to learn.
Because it puts it under pressure too.
Yeah, under pressure, and you have 5 minutes, if not more, between shots. You're not just hitting 20 straight 7 irons. It's not on the same lie every single time. So it alternates it. So if I can come anywhere close to how good I'm doing in practice on the golf course, that means I know it's transferring.
So I know you're like short on time with golf stuff. Just want to get your thoughts. Do you do any like golf fitness? Do you do any speed training, mobility stuff?
Yeah, I do a stack system.
Okay.
I got into that last year. Um, I do that. So I noticed I haven't done it as much during the golf season. I did
Yeah.
it a lot in the winter when, it wasn't like, do I want to do the stack for 20 minutes or do I want to go outside and hit golf balls? Um, I mean, obviously I can do both, but when I'm out there, I'm usually just like, oh man, it's been 2 hours and I need to get home. Basically worked out ever since freshman year of college. My workouts are changing a little bit to be a little more explosive
Okay.
for golf. Medicine ball, box jumps, cleans, stuff like that. Not heavyweight, but just trying to move it,
Fast.
yeah, a little faster. I've never really lifted heavyweight. Um, and then flexibility, I'll do yoga. I really, especially if I'm playing golf in the morning, I love waking up 15 minutes earlier and doing a 15-minute yoga routine just for the kind of the active stretching, get my muscles going because when I get out there, I don't want to feel tight. I don't want to have to loosen up. I mean, I hit golf balls anyway, but I want to make sure that I'm physically ready
Yeah.
because I mean, I try to swing hard. I'm not out there trying to, oh, let me just make sure, and I keep the ball in play. I'm trying to swing pretty hard and I don't want any tightness or uh, any injury for
Yeah.
sure. I'm not 25 anymore.
So you mentioned like if you're got an early round, you'll do yoga and then you'll go hit balls. What's your
Hmm.
typical like warm up routine if you're playing around? Is it typically just hitting some balls?
Now I'll hit some pitches and then I'll hit balls and then I'll usually hit some putts and then get up to the tee.
Okay.
I used to like getting there like over an hour early, hour and a half early.
Yeah.
Um, but now I realize, 50 minutes more than adequate. I don't need to hit golf balls for 30 minutes. I just need to kind of figure out my ground contact, see where the golf ball's going that day, see if I have to make any adjustments and I'm already pretty loose from the yoga.
Yeah.
So it's not that I need to work out any kinks. or muscle tightness.
So you mentioned as well that you're using that like spreadsheet. Are you using anything else to like keep track of your stats, or are you keeping track of strokes gained, anything like that?
Yeah, I do Arcos. I've had that 15 years now, probably. I mean, almost as soon as it came out. Um, I love it. I swore by it. I will say I kind of got into the habit of just letting that tell me what I need to work on, but
Okay.
realizing that I need to also actually track what I need to work on. Like I said, via the shot tracker.
Okay.
Arcos would tell you, oh, you've got, 3 strokes driving, or oh, you're missing 20% of the greens left, but it doesn't exactly tell you, oh, that's because you're hitting it off the toe and fat and the ball's going, short and left.
Yeah.
So that's what the shot tracker really helped me hone in on.
Now, when you use that in your round, did it really slow you down or not really? Because it's like more like check
Now,
boxes.
I so I like walking.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, you play in a foursome, you hit your tee shot. By the time the other 3 people hit, you can have it entered. It's just four lines, and I either put a 1 in if it was solid and solid strike, or an F, a T, R, or an L. So I mean, it takes like 30 seconds to put in,
Okay.
and I mean, you can also do it afterwards if you're waiting on the next tee. Go
Yeah.
back and do it. I really I'm only doing it for my irons right now,
Yeah.
and wedges. I'm not doing it for drives. So it was only like 16 times I had entered it the whole day.
And that's a good point that like you don't have to do it for every shot. You can just do it for the ones you're focusing on.
Hmm.
All right. So I have a
Yep.
few quick questions, like
Yeah.
just rapid fire, and then we'll finish up with one big one at the end.
All
So,
right.
what's your best training aid, or best training aid you think?
So the best training aid for me was a piece of string.
Okay. What
I
do you need that for?
Since I'm working on the ground contact, I it's actually so it's not just a piece of string, it's like nylon string. I bought it off of Amazon to put it the range. It's one of those that you screw the little T holder into the range mat, and it's got a little nylon rope string that you attach, so you can use your own wooden tee instead of those big, huge, thick rubber tees that are right in the center. I've always hated those, so I bought that. And then when um, Adam Young told me to work on my strike quality, I was like, oh, hey, I can put this behind the golf ball and try to not hit it when I hit golf shots, because uh, I don't have a grass range. I've got a um, mat. So sometimes it's hard to tell if you're hitting the golf ball or quarter-inch or half-inch behind. There might be a 5-yard difference in the
Yeah.
distance, but if you're on grass, you lose 15, 20 yards. So I started using that, and that's really what's made the biggest impact for me. I mean, since I started using it not even a month ago, I'm hitting almost 3 more greens around.
Awesome. That's
Yeah,
that's what
I'm going from like nine greens to like 11.7 or something like that.
that's good investment right there.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
what's your miss? Next question. What's your miss?
Uh, and that's the other thing. I didn't even realize that my miss was fat, which
Okay.
sounds stupid, but I always just thought, oh, it was a shot off the toe. Yeah, it was off the toe, but it was also, a half an inch behind the golf ball. So my 150-yard shot wasn't going 135 because it was off the toe. It was going 135 because it was fat.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, off the toe and a little fat is my miss. And face direction wise, I leave that club face wide open, and 2, 3 degrees open. And I've got a swing from slightly out to in, so that ball used to go off the planet. Still sometimes does,
A
but
nice
now it's
Wyndham Clark.
yeah, yeah, basically. Except I'm aiming down the left center of the fairway, and that ball goes 2 fairways over sometimes.
What's your favorite time of the day to play?
I love playing in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm a morning person. I wake up at like 5:30 anyway. I like getting out there as soon as it starts warming up. There's some dew on the grass, um, and there's still a little chill in the air before
Um,
it starts getting before it starts getting hot. Now I'm here in Maryland. It was 95 when I played yesterday.
yeah, I'm the same way. I like, then you have the rest of your day, do whatever
Yeah,
you get done.
yeah.
So,
Speaking of what are you working on? How are you improving? I know that you're progressing. You went from a 30 handicap to, what was it, 18 or something?
like it's 17.4 right now.
Yeah,
Working on a lot of same stuff that you seem to working on. Mostly ground contact. I use the divot board a decent amount.
yeah.
I enjoy that just because I can do it inside with like half swings, or I can go outside.
Hmm.
So, and it's quick, easy feedback. I'm not tearing up my lawn or,
Hmm.
and I don't have to go drive to the range. And then working on a lot of lag putting. That's something I struggle on a lot. And it's something I just need to just practice, put some time in.
Yeah, it's funny because just tracking my own, you know, simple things, contact, three putting, etc. It's made me realize with everybody, it's just focusing on the little things, like the easy things, the simple things, ground contact. I was in 8 handicap, and I'm like, oh, I've got ground contact. That's fine. I just need to keep the ball in play. Part of the reason
Yeah.
it wasn't in play was because my ground contact wasn't solid, and it was costing me 3, 4 strokes around. And that's the difference between an 8 and a 3 or a 4, which I am now. And it's the same. I played golf yesterday. My buddy shot 95. Oh, what do I need to work on? Well, you hit 7 approach shots, that you duffed and had to hit again,
Yeah.
or you hit it in the hazard because you didn't clear it. And those 7 strokes cost you 10 shots. So without them, you'd be a 12 handicap instead of a 20 handicap. And it's all just paying attention to little easy things that you think you don't need to work on. It's the best way to really improve.
Now, you might have just covered like this last question, but
Oh, okay.
like what's like any helpful, like what's your most helpful advice for someone who is trying to improve?
Yeah.
How, which,
Uh,
what would you say to someone? Like your
so
buddy just shot 95.
yeah, and I mean the same goes for me too. It's make sure you hit the golf ball first, right? And the direction, if you hit the golf ball first, even for me when it was super bad, I could play fine with it. I could find the golf ball, I could manage, I can take less club to try to keep it in play. But hitting the golf ball first and clearing the hazard and not taking 3 shots to reach a par 4, um, those add up a lot. So focusing on contact. Um, and I really highly recommend that little spreadsheet from Adam Young. Um, it's fantastic. It's so simple. It's easy. It's easy to do. It's quick. You can identify what your weakness is to work on. Um, and that'll help you improve right. I mean, it saved me 5 strokes around right away. Um, and then the other thing is course management. And that's another thing that I still struggle with. Just the other day, I had 40 yards into a green with the wedge in my hand. and the pin was kind of over a bunker, and I was like, oh, this is an easy shot. I can kind of go at it more.
Yeah.
I, and I just hit it 5 yards too short and spun it back into the bunker and made bogey from 40 yards. And it's simple stuff like that, and that's what I was just trying to tell my buddy yesterday. And I mean, he had one of his better rounds. It was just, don't try and and Cordy Walker, who was just on, was talking
Yeah.
about it, right? You don't have to make par.
Yeah.
If you hit a bad shot and you're in the trees, don't go for the gap that puts you up onto the green. I mean, if you're a tour player, sure. If you're five handicap like me, no, I'll hit that 1 out of 3 times, and the other 2 times I'm making double bogey.
Yeah.
Punch out, put it to 100 yards if you can, or just go sideways, and now bogey is your target score. You know, um, I short sided. If I short side myself, I don't try to hit a great flop shot to 5 feet. I pitch it and try to give myself a 10 to 15 foot putt and guarantee bogey.
Yeah.
I'm not guaranteed, but like make it so that
It's a good
my
chance.
worst score is likely bogey, and then maybe I make that putt 1 out of every 4 or 5 times, and I save par. And it really drops your score significantly. Those two things, I would say, universal, unless you're one of those pure ball strikers that hit the center of the club face, hit down on it ball first every time without thinking about it. Those are to me the two things that most of us get wrong, and that's
Okay.
what I get wrong still.
Yeah, that's great advice, I think. And I personally haven't really met anyone who's a natural ball striker sort of thing. So I think that's something we all need to work on.
Yeah,
And I think you've shared a lot of great insights today, Chris, and hopefully, everyone else can take something from it. I'll definitely leave a link for the practice manual in the description if anyone's interested. Go ahead and pick it up. I know Adam would love that. And
I highly recommend it.
yeah,
And his
thank you.
podcast, it's free. Him and John Sherman. John Sherman talks about the strategy, and that's what helped me too. The sorry, kind of I'm effusive in my praise for them, but their podcast and their books took me from a 10 handicap beginning of last year down to a 3 at the end of it. And I did no technical training, nothing except focusing on my face control and picking better targets, trying to game manage.
And so, just so if people aren't sure, they haven't heard of it before, the podcast is The Sweet Spot with
Sweet
John
spot.
Sharp and Adam Young.
Yep.
And I totally agree. I'm a huge fan of them. I actually remember listening to them do a few episodes with Corey Walker on the Golf Science Lab years ago,
Hmm.
way before they even started their podcast. And I was like, oh, these guys are great. And now here they are doing their own thing.
Yeah. Great,
So
great guys. Great advice. And again, it's not, it's not that your hands need to be here and your hip needs to be like this and keep your head still. It's just whatever you can to get the ball on the or the club on the back of the ball with the square club face. That's it.
making the game simple. Thank you,
Yeah.
Chris. Be driven, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Colin.